Why does being kind push people away? And I don't mean fake nice. I don't mean politeness for show. I mean genuinely kind, thoughtful, understanding, patient. The kind of person who listens. The kind of person who gives grace. The kind of person who checks in, remembers details, gives people the benefit of the doubt. Why does that seem to make people uncomfortable, or distant, or careless, or slowly disappear? Because at some point, you've probably noticed a pattern. The more understanding you are, the worse some people treat you. The more patient you are, the more they test it. The more forgiving you are, the more they take. And eventually you sit there wondering how something you were always told was good somehow turned into the reason you get hurt. And that messes with your head because you don't want to become bitter. You don't want to stop caring. But you're tired of feeling like your kindness is an invitation for disrespect. So now you're stuck in this weird place where you're soft inside, but guarded as hell on the outside. Where you're kind, but only quietly, or selectively. Or with a constant fear that if you do too much, people might take it the wrong way again. Kindness makes people feel seen, and not everyone is comfortable being seen. When you're kind, you're present. You notice things. You listen closely. You respond thoughtfully. You don't rush past emotions. And for some people who are used to surface level connections, it can feel intense. Because real kindness isn't passive. It's not invisible. It shines a light. And that light does two things. It makes healthy people feel safe, and it makes unhealthy people feel exposed. Some people live their lives emotionally armored. They joke to deflect. They stay attached. They keep things shallow. They avoid accountability. And when someone comes along who is genuinely kind, patient, and emotionally available, it disrupts their system. Because your kindness says, I see you. And to someone who spent years avoiding themselves, it can be terrifying. So instead of meeting you at that level, they pull away. Or they get uncomfortable. Or maybe they start acting cold. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence challenges the way they've been living. Oftentimes, kindness gets mistaken for a lack of boundaries. Now let's be honest. Some people do not know the difference between being kind and being available for whatever. Especially people who are self-centered or emotionally immature. When you're kind without being firm, people who take advantage don't see generosity. They see opportunity. They see someone who will listen without interrupting, someone who won't snap back, someone who explains instead of walks away, someone who forgives instead of leaving. And slowly, without you realizing it, the dynamic shifts. The respect drops, not because kindness is weak, but because unprotected kindness gets misunderstood. And the part that kind of hurts is some people were never taught how to respect gentleness. They only understand boundaries when they hit resistance. If you're consistently patient, calm, and understanding, they assume you'll always be. So they push and push. Not consciously, but instinctively. They cancel, they slack, they say reckless things, and they assume you'll get it. And when you do, over and over again, they don't think, wow, I should respect this person more. They think, I can get away with this here. Kindness can also push people away because it creates imbalance. Think about this. When you consistently show up with care, effort, and emotional presence, it highlights when the other person isn't doing the same. And not everyone likes being reminded of what they're not giving. Your kindness becomes a mirror. You remember their birthday, they forget yours. You check in, they reply days later. You listen, they talk about themselves. Over time, that contrast creates discomfort. And instead of stepping up, some people choose to step back. Because pulling away seems easier than changing. And the messed up part is, instead of recognizing that imbalance, you might start dimming yourself. You text less, you care quieter, you stop asking questions, you stop offering help, you shrink. Not because you want to, but because you're trying not to make anyone uncomfortable. And that's how kindness starts to feel like a burden instead of a strength. If your kindness pushes someone away, It's not because you were too much. It's because you were out of alignment with their capacity. But society does not teach us that. Society tells kind people to toughen up, to stop caring so much, to be colder, to mirror the energy. So you try. You act distant, you hold back, you say less, and it feels wrong because it's not you. A lot of people get stuck here because they confuse self-protection with self-betrayal. There's a difference between having boundaries and becoming emotionally unavailable. The problem is, nobody teaches you how to do the first without becoming the second. So kindness turns inward. You're kind in your head, kind in private, but guarded in connection. Sometimes kindness even creates expectations, even when you don't ask for anything. You never said, match my energy. You never said, be like me. But your actions quietly set a standard. And some people don't want standards. All they want is convenience. So instead of rising to meet you, they leave. And sometimes that hurts in a specific way because you weren't asking for perfection. You were just being yourself. Kindness forces people to confront how they treat others. And not everyone wants that confrontation. If someone is used to being emotionally careless, a kind person feels like pressure. Even if you never criticize them, even if you never demand more, your presence alone says more is possible. And that can make some people feel inadequate. So they do what they do best, they avoid. Another reason kindness might push someone away is because it challenges power dynamics. Not all kindness is submissive, but some people read it that way because domination is the only language they understand. When you don't argue aggressively, when you don't clap back, when you don't try to win, they assume that you're beneath them, or that you can be controlled, or that you don't have a breaking point. And when they finally realize you do, when you finally pull away or stop giving, that's when confusion hits them. Because they mistook kindness for tolerance. And that might hurt kind people even more because they see potential. They see someone who could be, not just who they are. They empathize with context, trauma, stress, growth curves. So they excuse things longer than they should. Not because they don't value themselves, but because they believe in people. And belief is beautiful. That is, until it's one-sided. And constantly choosing understanding over self-respect will eventually teach people how to treat you. Not verbally, but energetically. So what happens next? You start associating kindness with loss, with abandonment, with being overlooked. And that's dangerous because it can harden you in ways you don't even notice. You start asking, is there something wrong with me? Should I stop being like this? Do people only respect you when they're cold? No, but people respect clarity. Kindness doesn't push people away. Unclear kindness does. Kindness without boundaries says, I'll tolerate this. Kindness with boundaries says, I care, but not at my expense. And the real evolution for kind people is learning that being kind doesn't mean being endlessly available, endlessly forgiving, and endlessly flexible. It means choosing when and where your kindness goes. And not everyone deserves access to it. I want you to hear this clearly. If being kind pushes someone away, let them go. Not even in a dramatic way, not in an angry way. Just be honest and let them go. Because the right people are not threatened by kindness. They're drawn to it. And they don't take it for granted. They don't test it, they protect it. Kindness filters people out. Not because it's weak, but because it requires maturity to receive. You don't need to become colder. You just need to be clear. Clear about what you give, clear about what you allow, clear about when you step back. And once you do that, something shifts. Your kindness stops being consumed by people who don't value it and starts being shared with people who do. And yeah, it hurts when people leave, but it hurts more to stay where your kindness is misunderstood. If this hit for you, watch the next video.